Hey, g'day big bikers. Well, back on Mrs. Jones. Oh, she's had a flat battery for the last couple of weeks, and I ordered one online and the wrong one turned up, so I sent it back to get the other one. But you know, I've had the cross tourer there to ride, so I've been riding that. But I tell you, she's nice to be back. I don't know, why do I always start in tunnels? Hang on. Oh yeah, that's right. Anyway, I've been trying to make this WR450 video for a while. It's such a great bike. I've been having so much fun just learning to ride it and just taking it places that it's actually designed to go. And it's a terrific bike. And I made this video about why I got the WR450 and not a CRF 450 and what we're actually going to do with that. So let's go have a look at that. Big bike adventures in the tunnel. Hey, g'day big bikers. Well, it's part 2 of the WR450 project. The whole purpose behind getting this bike, and yeah, you guys have been giving me some curry about the fact that it's blue and not red. I like my bikes to be red, you know that. But there's a reason that I got a WR450 and changed from the XR, and instead of getting a CRF or 450 or something, I got the WR for a couple of reasons. One is I couldn't find a really nice CRF in good condition, low kilometres. This one came along through a friend, Barry Wolf, mate of his, knew about this bike that hadn't hit the market yet. Now when I bought this bike, it didn't have anything on it, didn't have, like it had been completely stripped and was being used as an enduro bike. So there was no excess of anything on it. So he'd taken basically, it came with a box of stuff that he'd removed from the bike. So I had to put a whole heap of stuff back on it. I put the long range tank on, I put the rack on, I put the subframe back on. Had to put some protective stuff on the bike, bigger pegs, but it came with really nice riser bars and steering dampener, and that whole front section's really cool. So now it's set up as an ADV bike, and what we're doing with this is we're actually taking it across the desert. Now, every year, as you know, Barry, Chris, Neil and I like to do a big trip every year. And this year we decided we're going to do a double crossing with the Simpson Desert. Now, the Simpson Desert crossing is one of those iconic, you know, rides in Australia for adventure riders. Crossing the Simpson Desert is a big box to tick, and so we're going to be taking care of that. Now, when we first started talking about doing the trip, we started talking, I've got the Africa Twin just there out of shot, you can't see it. Hey, Mrs. Jones, she's beautiful. One of the things that we started to talk about was taking the big bikes over, but you have to have a look at some of the video of some of the guys that have been across the desert on big bikes, and even our own experience going out into the desert and the first time on the big bikes. Too hard. You know, we're all in our 50s, except for Neil, he's a bit young. We're all in our 50s. Not in the best condition, so taking a big bike out across the desert was going to be a big ask. So we decided we'd do it on dirt bikes, and I initially was thinking I'd take the XR650 because it's, you know, it's a Baja weapon, so sand dunes and sandy crossings, no problem at all for the XR. One of the problems I've got with the XR is a Kickstarter. So it's a Kickstarter with a carburetor, so you drop that thing on its side and it's an absolute nightmare to kickstart. The Simpson Desert crossing is 500 kilometres and there's 1,100 sand dunes to cross in that desert crossing. So yeah, I'm going to drop the bike. And I'm going to drop this bike as well. I mean, I've already dropped this bike on the beach. Hey, straight away. So I didn't want to take the XR because if I had a heart attack, then someone like Chris or Neil would have to give me mouth to mouth. So, you know, like the horrific thought of that was just enough for me to go, yeah, I need to go spend some money and get another bike. Couldn't find a good CRF. I ended up with a WR, and these have got a fantastic reputation. And this is, like, it's a fun bike to ride. This is light, it's nimble, it doesn't have the grunt, anywhere near the grunt of the XR, and that's a weapon in its own right. But I tell you what, this is so much fun. Got the power tuner with it. I've set it up so that basically we're right to go. Now, the great thing is that during this whole conversation about going across the desert, Barry has gone out and bought a four-wheel drive because he wants to do some caravanning and tow his boat and all that sort of stuff. So he bought a four-wheel drive that was capable of doing the trip across the desert, and he's gone, how about we do it supported? And we've gone, fantastic, because who doesn't want cold beers and ice in their whiskey around a campfire under the stars in the desert at night? So Barry's got a WR650, as you know. He's kind of like, you know, happy to take the four-wheel drive. So that's what we're doing. We're doing a fully supported trip across the desert. That creates a couple of dramas. One is that we can only really go as fast during the day as the four-wheel drives can. So, you know, like Barry doing 20, 30 kilometres an hour, he's only going to be able to cover 180, 200, 250 maybe kilometres in a day, on a good day. So that's about the range of a tank of fuel on one of these things. And Neil's taking his KTM 670. And Chris he doesn't have it yet. He's picking it up next month. It's his brand new KTM 790R. So he's taking that across the desert as well. So we'll do some videos about that while we're out in the desert. You can absolutely be guaranteed of that. A proper review of the 790 in a very hostile motorcycle environment. So Barry's taking the four-wheel drive. We're taking the bikes. Barry's taking all the camp gear, fuel, food, all that sort of stuff. Now what happened, and I'll show you on a map, because we're not actually going to go from Birdsville to Mount Dare. That's kind of the way everyone goes. It's 500 kilometres, 1,100 sand dunes, and it's going to be hard work. But we're not going that way because we've got Barry in the four-wheel drive. So what we're actually going to do is go further. So we've now got a route that's going to be about 700 kilometres from Inaminka up the Walker's Crossing track, up the Warburton track, and then across the desert. And then we're going to come back from Mount Dare, back to Poble's Corner, and then up and around the Madigan line. So I'll show all that to you on a map, because that's going to be a pretty amazing trip. So we've got about 2,500 kilometres of desert riding, and this is my weapon of choice. So WR450, it's going to be a great series. We're really looking forward to it. The Simpson Desert Crossing is, as I said, one of the iconic motorcycle adventure rides in Australia and big bike adventures. It's taking the little bikes out for a run.